3128. What minimum radio equipment is required for VFR operation within Class B airspace? A. Two-way radio equipment and a 4096 code transponder. B. Two-way radio communications equipment, a 4069 code transponder, and an encoding altimeter. C. Two-way radio communications equipment. The correct answer is B. The minimum radio equipment required for VFR, visual flight rules, operation within Class B airspace is two-way radio communications equipment, a 4096 code transponder, and an encoding altimeter. Class B airspace is highly controlled and typically surrounds the busiest airports. To ensure effective communication and coordination with air traffic control, ATC, aircraft operating in Class B airspace must be equipped with two-way radio communications equipment. This enables pilots to establish and maintain communication with ATC to receive clearances, instructions, and traffic advisories. In addition to the radio communications equipment, aircraft operating in Class B airspace must also have a transponder with a minimum of 4096 codes. The transponder allows ATC radar systems to identify and track the aircraft's position on the radar screen. Furthermore, an encoding altimeter is required, which provides accurate altitude information to both the pilot and ATC. The encoding altimeter sends altitude data to the transponder, which is then transmitted to ATC for surveillance purposes. It's important for pilots to ensure that their aircraft is equipped with the necessary radio and transponder equipment and that it is properly maintained and operational before entering Class B airspace. Compliance with the equipment requirements helps ensure safe and efficient operations within this busy airspace. 3117. A blue segmented circle on a sectional chart depicts which class airspace? A. Class B. B. Class C. C. Class D. The correct answer is C. Class D airspace is depicted on a sectional chart by a blue segmented circle. This type of airspace is designated for airports with an operational control tower and serves to provide controlled airspace for the airport's surrounding area. The boundaries of Class D airspace are typically depicted by a blue dashed line forming a circle on the sectional chart. Class D airspace is designed to accommodate both instrument flight rules, IFR, and visual flight rules, VFR, operations. It is generally established around airports with moderate levels of aircraft activity and serves to provide separation between arriving and departing aircraft, as well as separation from other controlled airspace. When operating within Class D airspace, pilots are required to establish two-way radio communication with the control tower before entering the airspace. This communication is necessary to receive specific instructions or clearance from air traffic control and to ensure proper coordination with other aircraft in the vicinity. It is important for pilots to review the specific regulations and requirements associated with operating in Class D airspace, as they may vary depending on the airport and airspace configuration. Pilots should consult the appropriate Aeronautical Information Manual, AM, or other regulatory publications for detailed information on Class D airspace procedures and requirements. 3118. Airspace at an airport with a part-time control tower is classified as Class D airspace only? A. When the weather minimums are basic VFR. B. When the associated control tower is in operation. C. When the associated flight service station is in operation. The correct answer is B. Airspace at an airport with a part-time control tower is classified as Class D airspace only when the associated control tower is in operation. Class D airspace is established around airports with an operational control tower to provide controlled airspace for the airport and its surrounding area. When the control tower is in operation, specific procedures and communication requirements apply to ensure safe aircraft operations within the airspace. The classification of airspace is not determined by weather minimums or the operation of a flight service station. Instead, it is directly linked to the presence and operation of the control tower. When the control tower is not in operation, the airspace reverts to either Class E or Class G airspace, depending on the surrounding airspace classification. Pilots should always consult the appropriate aeronautical charts, NOTAMs, Notice to Airmen, and other relevant sources to determine the current status and operational hours of the control tower at an airport. This information is crucial for understanding the airspace classification and adhering to the required procedures when operating within that airspace. 3787. The lateral dimensions of Class D airspace are based on A. The number of airports that lie within the Class D airspace. B. 5 statute miles from the geographical center of the primary airport. C. The instrument procedures for which the controlled airspace is established. The correct answer is C. The lateral dimensions of Class D airspace are based on the instrument procedures for which the controlled airspace is established. Class D airspace is typically established around an airport with an operational control tower to provide controlled airspace for the airport and its surrounding area. The dimensions of Class D airspace are determined by the instrument approach and departure procedures that are used at the airport. The specific instrument procedures, such as instrument approach procedures, IPs, and departure procedures, DPs, dictate the lateral boundaries of the Class D airspace. These procedures are designed to ensure the safe and efficient flow of air traffic in and out of the airport. The dimensions of Class D airspace may vary from one airport to another, depending on the specific instrument procedures in use. It's important for pilots to be familiar with the published instrument procedures and the associated lateral boundaries of the Class D airspace when operating within or near such airspace. This knowledge helps pilots comply with the airspace requirements and maintain safe separation from other aircraft operating in the vicinity. 3787-1. When a control tower, located on an airport within Class D airspace, ceases operation for the day, what happens to the airspace designation? A. The airspace designation normally will not change. B. The airspace remains Class D airspace as long as a weather observer or automated weather system is available. C. The airspace reverts to Class E or a combination of Class E and G during the hours the tower is not in operation. The correct answer is C. When a control tower, located on an airport within Class D airspace, ceases operation for the day, the airspace designation typically reverts to Class E or a combination of Class E and G airspace during the hours the tower is not in operation. This means that the airspace may change from Class D to Class E or a combination of Class E and G airspace when the tower is not actively providing control services. Class D airspace is established to provide controlled airspace around an airport with an operational control tower. The control tower ensures separation and provides instructions to aircraft operating within the airspace. However, when the control tower is not in operation, the airspace is no longer actively controlled, and it reverts to other airspace classifications. In the absence of tower services, the airspace reverts to Class E airspace, which extends upward from the surface or a designated altitude. In some cases, depending on the specific airport and surrounding airspace configuration, a combination of Class E and G airspace may be in effect during the hours the tower is not operating. This allows for appropriate control and separation of traffic in the absence of tower services. Pilots should consult the appropriate aeronautical charts, notices to airmen, NOTAMs, or other official sources to determine the specific airspace classification and requirements when the control tower is not in operation at an airport within Class D airspace.